everyone, welcome back to another video here with the 49ers team breakdown, so let's get right into it. Last season, very good season, 13-4 record, first in the NFC West, second in the NFC, lost in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles, also lost, I believe, 3 quarterbacks that game they went through. Not sure if the outcome of the game would have been any different if they had stayed healthy, but that is something to point out. Looking at their notable additions, on the defensive line, edge Clelin Ferrell, as well as defensive lineman Javon Hargrave, who is obviously the most notable addition on this list. Very good interior defensive lineman who kind of had like a late season or late career breakout last season with the Philadelphia Eagles, played very well, and now is joining an already very strong defensive line in San Francisco. You also bring in kicker Zane Gonzalez to replace Robbie Gould, who we'll talk about in the losses. Offensive lineman John Feliciano, as well as quarterback Sam Darnold, who may or may not see some playing time at the beginning of the season, depending on the health and, I guess, depth chart status of Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. Looking at the losses, it is a very long list here. However, nothing is too major. It's a lot of not like their top guys, but still, you lose a lot of depth when you lose this many players. Looking at the list, you have corner Jason Verrett, kicker Robbie Gould, who I touched on earlier, offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey. That is one of the bigger ones on this list, probably the biggest one. Starting tackle, or was the starting tackle for them. Defensive lineman Maurice Hurst, edge Charles Omenihu, as well as Sam Ebukam. Another corner in Manuel Mosley, safety Tavarius Moore, Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback, defensive lineman Hassan Ridgeway, safety Jimmy Ward, offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill, and linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, or Al-Shahir. So, yeah, as I said, it's a long list, but mostly you're just going to end up losing depth and lower-end starters than like your top guys. Looking at the draft class, they did not really have a top pick. I don't think they picked until the 3rd round. And when you lose a lot of depth, as we saw in the losses, it is kind of important to have those early picks, which they did not have. But looking at the draft class, you get safety Jairi Brown with your 1st pick, and then Jake Moody, a kicker, with your 2nd pick. Not too sure how much I love the Moody pick, knowing that you also brought in Zane Gonzalez. For him to be your 2nd pick in the draft feels a little high. Also, Cameron Latu, tight end, Darnell Luther Jr., corner, Robert Beal Jr., edge, D. Winters, Braden Willis, Ronnie Bell, and Jalen Graham. So overall, not a lot to talk about. No, top picks, so mostly depth guys. Looking at their opponents, not the easiest schedule in the world. You play in the NFC West, so really only the Seahawks are going to be real competition for them within their own division. I don't think the Cardinals or Rams are going to be particularly good next season. But you also play the AFC North and NFC East, 2 very good divisions, as well as the Buccaneers, Vikings, and Jaguars. Buccaneers maybe not going to be as good next season, but the Vikings and Jaguars could be competitive with the 49ers as well. Looking at a ceiling, I have it 13-4. As of right now, we're not really too sure what the quarterback situation is going to be for the 49ers, but what we do know is that the roster otherwise is very strong. So, and even if Purdy or Lance miss the beginning part of the season, it probably will not be for a long stretch, and they will come back. And while I don't think either of the guys are top level quarterbacks, I think Purdy was maybe a little overrated last year. Still very impressive what he was able to do, being the last pick in the draft. I'm not trying to throw any shade on what he was able to do. It was very impressive, but I think he got a little bit overhyped, people calling him the next Tom Brady, people saying he's like a top 10 quarterback. Don't necessarily agree with that, but I think he definitely is good enough to take this team back to the playoffs and on another run. So putting that aside, Trey Lance also, who really knows what's going on there? and then you have Sam Darnold, who might start the season. But looking at a ceiling, this would probably be a scenario where Purdy does start the season, or maybe whoever is starting in place of him plays well, and that's how you get to the 13 wins. Finally, let's address the games, because I've been rambling. Sweeping the Rams and Cardinals, splitting the Seahawks in this scenario, losing only to the Bengals at home and Eagles and Jaguars away, and then winning the rest of your games against the Ravens, Cowboys, Giants, Buccaneers, Steelers, Browns, Commanders, and Vikings. On the other side of things, I have their floor at 9-8. If Purdy misses an extended period of time and Lance isn't available to help and Darnold plays like we have seen him play, which is not very good, maybe they could be down at like a 9-8 at their floor. This is also partly because it is a rougher schedule and a lot of these games could go either way. So in this scenario, I have them sweeping the Rams and Cardinals again, even in their floor, because I think that they're just much better teams, splitting the Seahawks, only beating the Giants, Buccaneers, Commanders, and Vikings in addition to that, and then losing to the Bengals, Ravens, Cowboys, Steelers, Browns, Eagles, and Jaguars. As for my prediction for the team, it's right in between their ceiling and floor at 11-6. I do think that will be good enough for a playoff spot. Whether or not that's good, I think that's good enough for them to win the division. You'll have to wait and see in my Seahawks breakdown video. I will say Cardinals and Rams, I don't have them as playoff teams, and I doubt anyone really does. But you'll see if you watch the Seahawks video whenever that comes out how I think that the division is going to end up. But I do see them as a playoff team, 11-6 here, sweeping the Rams and Cardinals once again, splitting the Seahawks, losing only to the Bengals and Ravens at home, and then to the Steelers, Eagles, and Jaguars away, beating the Cowboys, Giants, Buccaneers at home, and the Commanders, Vikings, and Browns away. So that's all I have to say about the San Francisco 49ers for next season. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and or subscribe. Would really appreciate it. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.